What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Sex Mechanic Podcast. I am your host, the Sex Mechanic, aka Jensen Benoit, aka The Exception, aka Mr. Born to Explore, aka Confident Creator, aka I Did It My Way. And you're tuned in for another episode of the Sex Mechanic Podcast, episode number 23. And we've got another good one for you today. I try to keep the topics lively, and this one's definitely going to get people's attention and definitely going to hopefully have people listening and taking in what I have to offer. So, first and foremost, I want to give a sincere apology for last week's episode. I went on IG and YouTube at the same time, and there were a lot of, excuse me, a lot of technical difficulties. And also, I feel like I left a lot of information on the table in terms of the topic. So, you know, I appreciate everybody for sticking through and watching the episode and watching the replay as well, whoever watched the replay. And yeah, my bad. I want to make sure that I don't leave anything on the table moving forward because I always feel some kind of way when, the show is done and I'm like, I could have said this. I could have gave more information. So today you're going to get all the information. So I hope you're ready for it. So as you can see, I don't have anybody next to me once again. The lovely Joanne is taking care of some business today. So, I'm, of course, wanting to see that. I love that. And we'll keep her in spirit as usual and definitely keep the her banter in our thoughts as we move forward in this podcast episode. And actually, she's going to be gone for the next 4 weeks. So be prepared to see me and maybe some other guests on the show who may want to join and give their opinions on certain things. All right. All right. So let's get started. Appreciation. I want to give appreciation for women that think outside the box. Anyone that knows me knows that I am nothing close to common or typical. And so it's really refreshing when I come across women who also have a different way about them, kind of have a different outlook on life than maybe most people do. Uh, and I'm no different. I definitely appreciate seeing that, and I appreciate being around that. And yeah, I'm kind of a weirdo, and not in a negative way. You can be weird and be cool still. So I'm kind of like a cool weirdo, is how I describe myself. And when I meet other women who are kind of out there a little bit, a little weird, I appreciate that. And that's what I'm talking about when I say I appreciate women who think outside the box. A non-common person is what I'm talking about. Is who I'm referring to. So thank y'all to all the women who are a little bit different, not the norm. Because if anybody could appreciate it, it's me. All right, so the topic today, I already know y'all. All right, I'm gonna probably ruffle some feathers. I may have people looking at me a little bit different or sideways, but as usual, I come with love and I come with information and knowledge. So hopefully you can take it that way and just take the information and roll with it as you may be able to use it. If you can't use it, if it doesn't apply to you, then that's fine too. So just realize that this information is for who it's for, but it might not be for you. It might not be for everybody. So keep that in mind. And before I get started with that, I got to remind you again, still, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm at 519 right now. So another 400 and I'm doing math in front of everybody. 481 to go. Before I get to 1,000, 1,000 will allow me to do a lot more things on YouTube in terms of monetizing the channel. And also it'll allow me to do things like use my phone instead of my what do you call it? My PC cam, I could use my phone and make videos that way and stuff like that. So help me get to 1,000 subscribers. If you like this material, if you enjoy the content, obviously, share it, like it, comment. Comments are good. So I love comments. Keep the comments coming. And yeah, help me get to 1,000. Cool. So the question of the day is, ha ha ha. The question is, can women be bad lovers? Can women be bad lovers? Now, there's an idea, there's a conception, maybe even a misconception that most, if not all, women are good lovers because, I mean, they've got something that a lot of people want. Men and women, they have something that's very desirable. They have something that honestly I believe was created not only for procreation, but also for immense pleasure for many people. I say many people, meaning like the person who has it and also the person or people that they're with. And that's a vagina. And some people think that because a woman has a vagina, that automatically, she's a good lover, or she, you know, being with her sexually would be a pleasurable experience. But I am going to give you some reasons why that may not be the case. And mind you, I'm not talking from a perspective of um, how the vagina feels. We're not even going to discuss that at all, because you could be, the wettest and the softest, the warmest. You could have all of that and still not be a great lover. So being a great lover is not about how good the vagina feels. It is more about the energy and the attitude that you go into a sexual encounter with, or sexual encounters with. So keep that in mind as we move forward, because we are about to get into the reason why women actually can be bad lovers. And I'll give you some ways that women can be bad lovers. And of course, I want to hear from you guys, the audience. I want to see in them comments. I want to see what y'all think. Especially if y'all disagree, I want to hear it, and we'll move forward. All right, we'll go from there. So, um, so to begin with, obviously, my answer is yes. Women can be bad lovers, but let me go ahead and explain why. Just as well as men can. The difference is based on our sexual responses. It's harder to tell when a woman is a bad lover than it is to tell when a man is a bad lover, simply due to the fact that we have different sexual response cycles. So that means that for a woman, it typically takes longer for her to reach orgasm and plateau. And for a man, it tends to be a lot easier. And it tends to be a lot more friction based for a man than it is for a woman. For a woman, there's other aspects within the sexual experience that help her get to orgasm easier or better or more effectively. So, with that being said, let's get into some ways how a woman can be a not so great lover. All right. One, not moving or reciprocating action or gyration. So, if she's just kind of, and ladies, I'm talking to you, might not be talking to all of y'all, but I'm talking to you as a whole, and see what applies, or if anything applies, because you might not fall into any of these categories. And if so, then, it's great for you. If you do fall into any of these categories, then maybe, just go back and think about what you can do better or different, and see if you can maybe make some improvements. And most of these ways that I'm going to describe here apply to men as lovers as well. So keep that in mind, that it's not just something for the ladies. Men, you can also listen and take in the same advice, basically, and try to look at things you can work on and change possibly. Let me get some water. I don't know how I am always, not always, but I'd say 8 out of 10 times I forget to press record on on my audio recorder. It's ridiculous. What am I doing? Yeah, so a woman that doesn't move or kind of like reciprocate any action, I guess they call that like being a starfish or something like that. I don't know how starfish really are in the water, so I don't want to call them out and put that label on them. But a woman that kind of just like lays there or just doesn't move much, that is not that's not fun. There's nothing there's nothing pleasurable about that for a guy, for most guys. There's some guys that don't mind. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. This also doesn't apply to all cases because there's a lot of men who honestly a warm vagina is good enough, no matter what that warm vagina is doing or not doing. So this doesn't apply to everybody, but hey, I'm just saying. Earl Polak says, "Don't offend the starfish." I'm just saying, man. I can't put that label on them because I don't know that that's how they operate. So somebody got to look out for the starfish. Um, but just laying there and not doing anything, not cool. And also that energy is kind of like, are you even wanting to be here? What's your vibe right now? Where you at? You here or are you somewhere else? Um, Movement is a good thing. And like I said before, I mentioned that with a lot of men, orgasm happens due to friction more than anything else. So the more you move, the more it feels good for him. It's not just something that, you know, gives off the impression that you're there and you're present, but also it feels great. So gyrations, moving of the hips, um, movement in other ways as well. So it's a beautiful thing. So don't just like sit there and take it, please, if you can help it. Yeah, I wrote here like when a woman uses her waist or hips for her own pleasure during intercourse, it actually feels amazing for your male partner as well. And that's the truth. Like even if you're on top, ladies, and you are doing, extra gyrations and extra motions to get yourself to that place, that actually feels really good for us too. You might think it's just doing it for you, but it's actually doing it for us too. So keep that in mind and do more of that. All right, another way is being closed-minded or at least not as open to considering as much as your partner would with you. So let me break that down in layman's terms. Not being willing or open to doing as much as you're asking for. That's kind of like one of those like baselines that I go by. If I'm not willing to do it, then I'm probably not going to ask for it. Or if I'll ask for it. I mean, you can ask for whatever you want, but if the person doesn't want to do it, you can't be really too upset if you're not willing to do the same thing. So reciprocation is very important. This is not reciprocation, but this is more of being open to more. You know what I'm saying? Not just saying no to everything and not shutting everything down. So yeah, that one's kind of self-explanatory. You can't just be like, all right, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. No, I don't want to try that either. Yet you're asking for a laundry list of things or, a long list of things that you'd want done to you. That's kind of hypocritical and it seems kind of one-sided. So that kind of goes along with another way that you can be a bad lover too. And we'll transition into that right now. That is being selfish, being a selfish lover. I've talked about that before as well. Don't be that person that makes it all about you and has no kind of concern or consideration for your partner's pleasure or enjoyment, unless you're by yourself. I mean, if you're by yourself, then hey, enjoy yourself, have a good time. There's nobody for you to worry about because it's just you. But if you do have somebody that you're engaging with, then it's probably a good idea to, kind of keep that person in mind. If you're not by yourself, then definitely keep the other person's pleasure and enjoyment in mind. That's not to mistake that for being responsible for that other person's pleasure because you're not responsible for it. But what we're talking about is a desire to want that person to enjoy the moment just like you are. And that person hopefully is doing the same for you, is showing you that same kind of desire that they want you to feel good. And when you do that together, when you mutually do that, it's perfect. It's a wonderful combination of people both giving as opposed to both people just taking. Because if both people were taking, then who the hell is giving? You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes a really weird situation. So are men or women more selfish as lovers? I think it depends, honestly. Uh, very situational. I would never generalize and say that men or women as a whole are more or less selfish than one another. In my opinion, I believe that there's plenty of selfishness to go around between men and women. Just depends on the person and the personalities involved. What do y'all think, though? I mean, that's a good question. What do you think? Richie Aisha says, at Earl Polak, definitely men. Oh, okay. Well, Richie thinks men are more selfish. Do you have more experience with men as lovers, Richie? I'm guessing or assuming. As y'all work that out and get y'all answers together, I'm gonna continue on. Yeah, don't be selfish. Nobody likes a selfish lover. That's one of those, like I said, can apply for men or women for sure. Don't be that person that's just in it to get yours, and with no regard to how that affects the other person that you're with at the time. All right, another reason or another way is lack of spontaneity. Men enjoy excitement and thrill that comes with unusual. When I say unusual sex, I mean sex that's not uh, done in the typical way or even in the typical environment. So unusual can just be different from the norm. Uh, that comes with unusual sex as much as women do. Because we all know women, well, hopefully we all know that women enjoy a lot of spontaneity and a change of pace and, change of scenery as well. We love that too. I mean, it has this a similar effect. When you're in a position where you could get caught and you could get in trouble, or yeah, being in a position where doing this is a risk. Obviously, hopefully you're not doing things that are like hella risky, but enough risk to where you have to take some caution. That kind of thing is exciting. That's thrilling, and men and women love that. So try to open yourself up to being more spontaneous, and don't always feel like, nah, we can't do that because we're here, or we can't do that because the risk is too great. The risk is part of the excitement, and at the very least, if y'all go to jail together, at least it was worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least both of y'all got yours. Hopefully it's before you get yours. I think I told y'all about the story where I was yeah, where I got caught by the police in a car, doing my thing, and but we didn't get to finish. But it was still a good session before we got caught. And it's a great story to tell. So at the very least, you'll get a great story. But at the at the very best, you'll both have a very exciting time, and maybe you'll both get off without getting caught. But that would be a lot of fun. So don't be so scared to be spontaneous. Be open to, you know, doing things and that you wouldn't normally do. Another one is being unwilling to learn or take instruction about what your partner likes or enjoys. Now, this can definitely be applied to either a man or a woman. This has to do with skill more than anything. So, how well do you know how to please your partner? And how well or how much are you willing to learn how to please your partner? Because some people may not know how to, but they will go great lengths to try to learn. and try to educate themselves and try to find out from their partner, even like, what type of things they need to do differently so that they can get the most or maximum pleasure from their partner, or at least give the maximum pleasure to their partner. Earl says that's really risking it all. I mean, yeah. If you're not risking anything, where's the fun in that? I'm just saying. If nothing is on the line, then where's the fun? Sometimes, y'all. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you should always be in situations where you might um you might end up getting a record for it. I'm just saying that sometimes if the moment hits, don't always let that be the factor that decides whether you do it or not. Because sometimes you got to take a little bit of a risk. What's living without risk? If everything was safe, then you're really not having a great time. I'm just saying, can't be safe all the time. You can, but you're gonna be missing out on a little bit of fun. So take calculated risk. Okay, how about that? Take calculated risk. But yeah, back to the taking instruction and learning more. So a big part of being a skilled lover is learning what your partner enjoys and by listening to their body and their words. So being a skilled lover is not just about the mechanics of sex, which is like this goes here, and when you do this, you got to go in this direction, and that will cause this to happen. That's a part of the pleasure, and that's an important part. That's a skilled part of the sexual experience, of course, but it's not the only part that matters in terms of skill. Skill is also having a keen ear and eye for understanding what feels good to that person, what feels good to your partner, what they enjoy, what they're reacting to. Because you might do something today that you haven't done before, and he or she responds in a way that's very positive. So you have to be aware enough to know that, hey, this person likes that. Let me keep that going. Ricky2JZ says, Earl, what up, cuz? I don't be putting people's identity out there like that. So, you know, Earl, just know Ricky2JZ. But yeah. So being skilled, that's definitely something that for both people is very important. All right. This is not just a one-sided thing at all. Definitely get your skills up, educate yourself, and be more familiar with what your partner enjoys. And maybe you learn a little bit more about the body, about your partner's body. So you can get to know what they like and show them what you know. And that actually goes into this last point, which is this one is the lack of knowledge. Now, this one is specific to you, ladies, okay? The lack of knowledge about how your body works, but expecting your partner to know it all and unlock the mysteries of your body. So, this is very specific to the woman who doesn't totally understand how her body and sexual response cycle works, but she really expects her partner to give her all the answers about how that happens. And that's a problem. And there's a lot of issues with that. One of the issues is being that your pleasure is your responsibility. Each person's pleasure is their own responsibility. And so with that being said, you need to make sure that this means men or women, are uh are versed on what you like and what feels good to you, even without a partner. Like solo, you should be, discovering what works out for you and what your body enjoys. And I think sometimes this is not all women. This is probably the one that applies to the least amount of women who are watching or listening to this. But there are some cases where women are not familiar with their body and how it works, but there's an idea that their partner should already know how that works and should figure, if not, they should be able to figure it out. And that's not really fair, what I'm saying, to put on anybody. So it's important to definitely get to know your body and get familiar. The reason why this is more towards the ladies than the guys is because as guys, we learn pretty early what feels good. Masturbation, the way that works typically is when we're younger, uh, there's some kind of friction that happens around the penis, and we're like, oh shit, that feels kind of good. And there begins, the journey of masturbation for a young man usually. For women, it's a little bit more complicated. And so there does take a little bit more dedication to learning yourself and taking that solo time to really get familiar with yourself and how your body works. Some of the comments are saying Ricky 2JZ, we need to have lunch with Brian. Earl says, what's up, Ricky 2JZ? So yeah, get familiar with yourself, please, before and this is to everybody, but I'm just saying, like, this is a very small percentage of women that maybe have that idea that, her guy should be able to unlock all her all her doors, yet he doesn't necessarily have a key, and neither does she. So you can't expect people to be magicians. So sometimes you are able to figure a woman's body out if you really take the time and you really have the knowledge to do that. But there are cases even with me where I'm somebody who loves trying to unlock a woman's body and her pleasure centers and her areas of enjoyment during a sexual encounter. But there are times that even I'm not able to, and I'm somebody who considers myself pretty skilled. But so imagine somebody who doesn't study sex, who doesn't talk about sex all the time, who's not as versed and knowledgeable about it. That person's going to be lost in the sauce. And so if neither of y'all know what's going on, then there's going to be a lot of confusion and probably a lot of tension. And we don't want that. So the best thing to do is practice solo, get to know yourself sexually, get to know your response cycle, how your body works, how your body reacts, what it reacts to, what it enjoys, and then bring that into the bedroom with somebody else when you feel ready. You know. All right, let me read some comments. Earl says, when men get older, the mental aspect of sex becomes more important, not just friction. I'm glad you said that because you're right. And that actually goes to one of the ways that I was talking about. I think it was the first one, the not moving or reciprocating action, right? So for a person who's less, I don't want to say less advanced in their sexual journey, but maybe less experienced in their sexual journey, a woman not moving or doing anything may not make too much of a difference because the friction is a big deal as we're younger men. As younger men, that's when, friction is probably the most important thing in terms of pleasure in sex. The mental aspect is not the most important thing. It's more about how it feels. And so a woman that doesn't move much or doesn't do much, if she's dealing with guys that are less experienced, that might not make too much of a difference. But once you deal with people who are a little bit more experienced and also maybe a little bit older in age as well, definitely the mental aspect becomes more important. And not only the mental aspect, but the energy exchange becomes important as well. Like, what are we doing here? We can't just be getting it in friction wise, because I could do that myself. And I'm better at doing that than you are in most cases. I could get myself there quicker than other people can in most cases. So it's got to be definitely more than just the friction aspect. And I believe as people get older, they realize that sex is more than just bang, 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 and more than just, you know, body parts rubbing together. There's a lot more going on in sex. If at least if you want to, feel it in a most pleasurable way, then you'll notice that as you get older. Ricky 2JZ, women find out early when they start washing themselves. They can, depending on what type of what type of apparatus they're using to wash. If you never really get to use a shower head, you may not experience, what it feels like, that tingle that a woman gets when the water is hitting her just in the right spot. But maybe she can too. But maybe also that doesn't always correlate to knowing how to explain that to a lover. Like, how do you explain what the water is doing to somebody you're with in the bedroom to have them kind of like recreate that or do that for you? So even if they know that it feels good in that area, in that general area, that may not be enough for them to know exactly what needs to be done for them to experience their full potential of pleasure. Because I always say this, and I'm gonna keep saying it: women, y'all have this unmatched potential for pleasure that just, I think most of y'all probably can't even wrap your brain around unless you've experienced some of it. And once you unlock that, once you kind of like tap into that, whew, sky's the limit. Like, I don't think sex ever can get boring. I don't think it can ever get, I'm not gonna say get old. It can probably get old, depending on the situation, but sex will continue to be pleasurable because of how far you can go with your level of pleasure. So just remember that and keep that in mind, please. Is that, as women, you have this gift, I like to call it, where you can tap into this unlimited reservoir of pleasure, and it can keep getting better and keep getting better over time. So don't stop having sex. Just, if anything, get to know yourself a little bit better and have better sex. Now I got a good group of audience members here. What questions do y'all have? Oh, to sum it up, basically, like, yeah, women can be bad lovers, by the way, if y'all didn't get that. But they can be bad lovers equally as much as men can be bad lovers. So I don't want it to seem like it's one sided. It's not. It's just busting that myth that women cannot really be bad lovers because the vagina feels amazing. There's no argument that it feels amazing, but that's not what makes them bad lovers when they are. What y'all got in the chat for me tonight? How's everybody doing? What's everybody drinking? Um, Today I only have water. I had tea earlier because I'm getting over a sore throat, so I didn't really want to do any alcohol. I already had some alcohol earlier this weekend, so I'm good on that. But what are y'all drinking tonight on this Monday evening, or it's Monday night for a lot of y'all on the East Coast? Tanisha, what's good? What's happening? Tanisha, I want to ask you, being a lady in the chat, what do you think about this? What's your opinion? Do you feel like, do you agree that women can be bad lovers, or do you feel like it's pretty much a given that women are going to be on point on the sex tip? I want to tell you how this came about too, right? So this topic came about because somebody emailed me something on IG about some dude going off about how women are not, or some women aren't good in bed, and he was going off on a different type of tangent. He was talking more like, oh, the reason why dudes cheat and this, that, and the other is because women aren't, or some women don't take care of their business in the bedroom. I don't totally agree with all that. I feel like if a guy's gonna cheat, he's gonna cheat, no matter how good or bad it is. But that's what sparked the conversation. That's what started it. I ended up asking a question on the IG, and I think most people said, well, the question had nothing to do with that. That's the question I'm gonna ask y'all. Actually, let me read this comment, and then I'll ask that question to you guys in the chat. Yes, I think they can be. Denisha says, She also says, but I think it's because our mental may not be in the right space. Okay. That's actually an important point as well, is that women have to be in the right space mentally to feel in the moment and in the mood. Uh, I think women can be guilty sometimes of being in their own heads a little bit too much, and they have a lot to think about, a lot to consider during the sexual experience, and that can very much affect the pleasure in the sexual experience. And it can also affect, you being able to get to the point of orgasm, because you kind of have that mental block where you can't get past it. So that definitely makes a difference. I agree with that, Tanisha. And that's why it is important. Talked about that on another podcast episode, where the environment has to be right. It can't just be like anytime uh, you know, a lot of women are going to be ready to have sex. Like, certain conditions have to be met, and there has to be kind of like a safe space type of environment. And yeah, there's got to be a lot of other things going on too. Denisha says we have to feel sexy to be sexy. I can't disagree with you. I cannot disagree. Earl says, like you say, the key is willingness to learn. Both men and women need to be open and eager to please. I'm with it. And I agree. Two people who are coming in, well, two people or more who are coming in with the intention of pleasing one another is, to me, going to be a far better experience than two or more people coming in with just their own pleasure in mind without any regard for anybody else. I mean, that's hands down going to be a way better experience for everybody involved if we're all giving and taking, together, as opposed to just taking. Because again, if you just taking, who's giving? Where are you getting it from? Like there's got to be a mutual give and take. Earl says no starfish. Exactly, no starfish. Everybody getting in there together and enjoying themselves and really doing their best to help the other people experience pleasure, man. I mean, I don't know. To me, it just seems like a simple concept that you should try to give as much as you can, and have that reciprocated. Denisha says, "Did I miss the starfish conversation?" You missed it. It was like the first reason that I gave for how women can be bad lovers is by not moving and just kind of being still during the whole experience and not really giving any kind of energy back. So yeah, and we compared it to a starfish, but I was feeling kind of bad about calling starfish out, not knowing how they get down. So I'm gonna go look that up, the whole starfish thing. I'll make sure that starfish are not being talked down upon unnecessarily. Y'all know I'm an animal activist. I care about the animals. I care about wildlife. But so the question I asked on my IG, right? The question was, um, if your lover wasn't good at pleasing you, would you tell them? And this has kind of like layers, right? Let's say the situation is you are with somebody who y'all are lovers, but y'all aren't in like a committed relationship. So something a little bit more casual, but definitely somebody that you have sex with regularly and is a regular partner, but not long term. Is, I mean, not long term, not committed. It's not like this is a husband or a wife. This is just somebody that you sleep with regularly. But obviously, you sleep with them regularly, so there's got to be some kind of relationship there. So, would you tell them? I want to know how y'all would tell them too. I said for sure I would say something. Um, I would definitely have to say something, because if I'm not in there enjoying myself completely, then what are we doing this for? We're both wasting each other's time, and I am enabling you to continue doing this and, continue not experiencing sex to the best of your ability either, because you're also not getting the most out of sex if you're not, doing what you can to make it better. Earl says, you got to communicate or else suffer in silence. That's real, man. And I'm not suffering in silence. I'm sorry. It's not happening. So she gonna have to know. And I'm not gonna say it in a rude way. I'm not gonna say it in a way that's, disrespectful or anything. I would just maybe make a suggestion of maybe something I like or something I'd like more of. And we could go from there. Denisha says, yes, you should. Denisha also says, life is too short for bad sex. Yo, tell them again. Life is too short for bad sex. I like that. That's a bar. Very true. Like there's people are usually so scared to talk about sex, even when they're having sex. Like, which that's the part that kind of blows my mind. Like, how can you be how can you feel some kind of way about talking about sex with somebody that you have sex with regularly? Like you could do the act, but you can't really talk about it with each other. That's something in this in our society specifically that I would like to change, and hopefully I can affect that in a positive way by just talking about sex openly the way I do, and hopefully getting other people to do the same in their relationships. Richie Aisha says, I've only told someone that they were bad in bed once. I usually tell them to stop if it's dry down there and it starts to hurt, but I won't say it's bad. Okay. Now we could get to another good point. Thank you, Richie, for that comment. Because sometimes that's where the skill part comes in. All right. So understanding that men and women have different sexual response cycles is important, because you understand what it may take to get your female partner to the point where she's actually ready for intercourse. All right. This is important stuff for you. All right. I'm hoping everybody got their notepads out that need it. The people out there maybe who have been doing it for a while, or maybe have kids, or maybe have long relationships where they've communicated, may not benefit as much, but maybe you will. I don't know. But you have to understand that you got to warm a woman up. And sometimes you got to warm a woman up for a while. I heard someone recently on a program say it takes about 20 to 40 minutes to warm her up, okay, to get her ready for, penile penetration. So with that in mind, you gotta slow down, y'all. Like, slow down. And if it's dry, then it ain't ready. If it doesn't slide right in, and when I say slide in, I mean based on the lubrication, her natural lubrication. If it doesn't just slide right in because of the lubrication, she's not ready. And that's all right. Like, there's no rush. People be so much in a rush to, stick the dick in. But at the end of the day, it's gonna get there. Just chill, slow down. Slow down. So Richie, I really appreciate that comment, because yeah, sometimes we both need to slow down and just take our time, let it be ready, and that will in turn make it better, because it's hard for it to feel good if you're not actually ready for what you guys are trying to do. It's hard for it to feel good if it's dry, because the natural way the body works is it lubricates in order for the penis to be able to go in there and do its thing. So yeah, that's a good comment right there. I appreciate that. But slow down, y'all. That's free game in terms of the skill. One skill to have is just slow down. Take your time. Also, some men should stop. Oh, Richie also says, also, some men should stop fingering like they're doing a jailhouse stabbing to get away. Oh, I'm laughing with you, man. So true. Yo. I think sometimes people forget that uh, it's a vagina. It's an organic thing. Okay, this is not. You're not putting your finger into a pocket pussy, an inanimate object that has no nerves or no feeling for what you're doing. So definitely ease up a little bit. All right. Like Richie says, you're not trying to, jab the inside of a woman's, vaginal walls. That's not what you're doing. You're not trying to stab inside of there either. Just take your time. If it's getting wet, you won't have to go that hard. You won't have to apply that much pressure. If you're having to apply more pressure, then that means it's not time, it's not ready. Either slow down or try something different. Maybe don't be so quick to get into the vagina with the finger or the penis. Maybe work around it. Work on the outside before you get on the inside. All right. It's kind of like boxing, I guess. Like use your jab, work on the outside, and then get closer and work the inside, work the body. So don't be such in a rush to get inside the vagina before actually working on the outside and getting it warmed up and ready for entry. Because when it's ready for entry, you'll know it. It'll be wet. And when it's wet, that means now you can start, inserting parts in there. But until that point, stay on the outside and try to work on maybe work on the clitoris at that point and see if you can get her more warmed up. Ricky 2JZ says maybe the ceiling fan was on too high. Oh, which is why it got dry. I don't know, man. I'm gonna go with the fact that maybe he nah. I don't think I'm not gonna go with that one. I'm not gonna let that person off the hook that easy. I feel like if the ceiling fan was too high, which has happened before, I think a lot of us have had that situation where it's about to get warm and hot, so you turn that fan up high so y'all can stay cool, and that might dry things out a little bit. But if there's continued stimulation, then that wet is gonna overcome any kind of air blowing on it. I promise you. But nice try, Ricky 2JZ. I guess it's a fair suggestion to make, but nah, we ain't rolling with that one. Nope. So I see that most people say that they should say something or that they would say something, and that's really good because I think communication is important as well, whether you're in a committed relationship or even something casual. If you're in a casual sexual relationship and you're having sex with somebody regularly, why not communicate so that the sex that you have is worth y'all time? If you're out there just having mediocre sex and just continuing that and being okay with it, it's not a good look. Communicate. And if you don't know how to communicate, then learn how to communicate. That's something that you can definitely learn in a book. You can learn on YouTube. You could learn ways, talk to a professional, a therapist, or a counselor or something, and you can learn how to communicate because communicating is really one of those really important keys to having a strong relationship, period. Definitely a strong sexual relationship, but a relationship, period, with anybody in any capacity. Communication is a cornerstone, communication is a pillar. So definitely communicate. And if you do have a problem with something, you should be able to say that to your partner. Just say it outside of the bedroom if you're talking about sex. People tend to get real sensitive about sex. Uh, Guys, we're guilty of being super sensitive when it comes to sex in the bedroom. So maybe have that conversation outside the bedroom when sex is not really on the table right at that moment. All right. So for the final moments of the podcast, do y'all have any more questions? Do y'all have any more comments? Is there anything that you would like to add to the conversation? Oh, and of course, thank y'all for commenting and being a part of the chat. I always appreciate that. I like having a conversation together with the audience as opposed to talking at you, which is why I do the lives versus the pre-recorded episodes. So any more comments, any more concerns? felt like a really long time between the last time I spoke with y'all. I don't know why, but it's only been a week, but it felt longer. I think I missed being on the podcast with y'all. So I thank y'all for allowing me to come back and talk about sex, which is what I like, which is what I enjoy to talk about. All right. Well, if y'all don't have any more questions or comments, we are going to call it a show. I really want to thank everybody who oh, here's a comment. All right. Earl says, "Are you getting vaccinated? I want to see you play with KD and James Harden." I've already gotten this comment, not that particular one, because of course you would be the one to say something like that. But I got the comparison earlier today and I was disappointed in that person because I thought maybe she was different, but she wasn't. She looks at me like everybody else, like I look like Kyrie Irving. And it's not true, y'all. Y'all say in the comments I don't look like Kyrie Irving. Please dispel all these lies. Denisha says the more orgasms a man has, it helps to reduce the risk of prostate cancer. Okay, I like that, and that's coming from a medical professional. All right, so y'all listen to her. Earl says, joking, of course. He knows that he's not. He might be joking about the question he asked, but he's not joking about the comparison. Just to let y'all know. All right. Denisha says, let's fight cancer together. That's real. And by doing that, let's have sex more, people. Like, let's have more orgasms. Richie Aisha says, cousins. She might be talking to Earl and Denisha, probably. Denisha says, you do, bro. Who knows what she's talking about? I think she's saying that I do not look like Kyrie Irving. That's what it sounds like she's saying. So that's what we're going to go with. Oh, man, as usual, thank y'all for joining me on another episode of the Sex Mechanic Podcast. As usual, I had a great time. Hopefully you got something out of this conversation because that's what this podcast is about. It's about me talking about sex, dating, and situationships, but it's also about me giving game when possible and me being able to provide some level of knowledge for you to take with you. So hopefully I was able to accomplish that for you tonight. And yeah, we're going to call it. We got one more comment, but it's probably not that important. Oh, no, it's not that important. It says, you do look like him. Yeah, you see, I'm going to turn the comments off now. We done with that. But have a great night, y'all. Enjoy your Monday or the rest of your Monday night. And I'll see you all next week. All right. Peace.